What is up, everybody? It's your boy Diablo Dollar Sign back with another banger of a video for you guys on the channel. And today, I want to talk about my experience with Apple products throughout my life. I'm going to go through all of the Apple products that I have been around or that I have owned, and I'm kind of going to give you a breakdown of why I liked certain pieces, why I didn't like certain pieces. And you know what? Without further ado, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this shit, so let's get right on into it. The very first time I was exposed to an Apple product, dude, I must have been like 7, 8 maybe, and I got introduced to the iPhone 4S. Now, let me tell you something. The iPhone 4S was just an objectively beautiful piece of technology. Siri was now a thing, you know? Um yeah, that's that's about it. Regardless, we finally had Siri, and I think the camera came out on the iPhone 4 also. Either that or it was like a really revolutionary camera for the time. Regardless, it didn't matter to me. What did matter is that the phone had voiceover and it had Siri, which were both really dope features for the time. And overall, I think I really liked that phone. And even a couple of years later, I got my hands on two iPhone 4S's. One had a shattered upper screen. That screen was fucking busted, brother. And the other was locked. You couldn't even turn it on. So my aunt was kind of smoking pipe for giving me that phone. I'm not gonna lie. Regardless, they both got taken away from me very quickly, which was ridiculous, and then they never got given back. That's what drug addicts do for you. That's my fucking bitch ass drug addict aunt for you. Regardless, continuing on to the next phone I was introduced to, which I don't remember if it was the 5. It might have been the 5S, actually. I do believe it was the 5S, which introduced Touch ID for the first time, which I just found out. That is very cool. Touch ID was a fire feature for fucking years, actually. I was disappointed when Apple got rid of it. I mean, Face ID is still a nice feature, but like, bro, Touch ID could still be an option, you know? Samsung put it in the power button. Apple could definitely do that. But no, fuck us, I guess. Regardless, this phone I have some fond memories with. This was my sister's phone, and I remember vividly one day, well, first off, I remember vividly her playing music off of the phone, which was my favorite feature, I think, about it, because you could tell Siri what song you wanted her to play, or it, I guess, and it would play the song, which was a fire feature, in my opinion. And one day, I was sitting in my sister's room. Keep in mind, I was like, what, maybe 9, I think. And I was sitting up in my sister's room, and I would press the button and be like, "Hey, sorry, I can't actually say the word because I have the voice assistant on my phone, but I would say, "Hey, you, take your clothes off and send me a picture," you know, which was crazy, especially for the time. And it's still one of the stories which my mom likes to quote the most, which is just fucking beautiful. Around the same time, I think a year later, I was about 10 years old when I got my first iPad through the school. You see, when I was 9, in third grade, was the first year, at least in my school district, where they rolled out Chromebooks for all the students to use, but unfortunately, Chromebooks did not have good accessibility features. So, I was given a laptop, which I mean, it was cool. I almost wish they would have had me stick with the laptops because only a couple of years later, some fire fucking blind exclusive games, Jesus, blind exclusive games started to come out. And, it just would have made my life so much more fun at so much, like, way younger. If I would have found out about these games, I'd have had such a good time. Regardless, that's neither here nor there because in 10th grade, they gave me my first iPad, which was the iPad 2. Now, let me tell you something. The iPad 2 was an objectively shitty piece of technology. It wasn't very good, especially considering at the time we had the iPad Air 2, which was an objectively fire iPad for the time. So, I was stuck on this old ass iPad 2, not Air 2, the fucking iPad 2, which still had that huge ass old school Apple cord. And, I mean, I guess it was cool. I could connect a Bluetooth keyboard to it, and that's about it. Like, there was nothing that was particularly amazing about that iPad, but for the time, it still wasn't terrible. It just wasn't good. Now, continuing on, that year, I had taken that iPad home and I was listening to audiobooks on it. And I was young and stupid, and I took the case off to clean it. And on my way back into the room, for some reason, once again, this was mistake number two, I had left it on the floor. And so on my way into my room, I just stepped on the screen and fucking shattered it. Which, let me tell you something, didn't even sound like glass breaking. It, honest to God, sounded like plastic crunching under my foot. I thought I had broken a CD case under my foot and not the iPad. And I was heartbroken when I realized that no, in fact, I had broken the school's iPad. So I had gone to school, and, at the time, my teacher, one of my teachers, my vision teacher, Mr. G, that's what we're going to call him. We're going to call him Mr. G. We never really called him that, but I'm also not going to leak his name onto the internet. I'm betting he's probably still alive. Regardless, this teacher, Mr. G, was talking about getting me the iPad Air 2 because around this time frame was when, what was it, the Braille Note Touch, I want to say is what it was called, had just come out, and the school was thinking about copying me that, which, I mean, would have been really fucking dope. But you know what they didn't end up doing? Copying me that. So, I mean, fuck them, I guess. Regardless, I got this iPad, and it was the iPad Air 2. And I remember, for some reason, Mr. G never got in contact with me after I had broken the iPad. I mean, I'd given it to him and he knew it was broken, but he wasn't the one who came to see which iPad they would switch me to. So some dude from the district shows up, and I said, yeah, I mean, I think Mr. G was planning on having me set up with the iPad Air 2 because, that's what it had sounded like. The whole appeal was that you could connect multiple Bluetooth devices, or at least that was the appeal that he was talking about. And so I was just like, yeah, Mr. G said the iPad Air 2 because that's what I thought. And I remember him coming to the school and being like so disappointed in me because I had said that. And I was like, dude, that's literally what you were talking about copying me. Regardless, that was an objective fire piece of technology for the time. It had the lightning cord. The lightning cord was fucking fire. It had Touch ID. It was just a good computer. Additionally, I believe it was one of Apple's first models of iPads that had 32 gigs of space, which was just amazing. It was fucking beautiful. And unfortunately, I ended up breaking that one too. But this time it was at school. I had, had my headphones on and I went to get up and go to the bathroom and I yoinked it off the desk. And somehow on that like 2 foot drop, the screen broke. I didn't even notice it. It was like a hairline fracture, but the school wanted to replace it regardless. So, whatever. I got my second iPad Air 2. I also ended up having to get a third one because when I was in the 6th grade, I had gone home and my mom had given me a choice. She was like, hey, you could go to school tomorrow or you could stay home if you let us have your iPad. What I didn't know at the time was that they were going to pawn it. So they took it to the pawn shop, and for some fucking reason, they took it to the shittiest pawn shop ever because dude literally fucking shattered it. And they were like, no, actually, even though that was our bad, it's not on us to pay for it. Which, I mean, yo, fuck you guys because I never got to take my iPad home again after that. That was retarded. Um, Next, I got my first personal iPad, which was the iPad Mini 2. I know there's like a big common experience for me of getting the Model 2 iPads. Regardless, I got the iPad Mini 2, which was my first personal iPad, and I realized the fault of that iPad very quickly, which was that it only had 16 gigs of memory, which I mean was okay until I realized that I could have like two apps downloaded and then like a couple of songs downloaded and then like maybe one video, like it was not good. And I mean, objectively, the iPad was pretty decent, but the storage was really the only thing that I really didn't like about it. Moving on to, I think it was my first phone next, which wasn't until I was 14, by the way. So, all you fucking iPad kids, yo, I waited till I was fucking 14, and you're gonna tell me y'all can't wait? Regardless, fuck that conversation. I got my first phone when I was 14, which was on a prepaid plan. Jesus, I don't know why those words were so difficult to get out of my mouth. It was on a prepaid plan through Boost Mobile, and I got the iPhone 7, which was my first device with 32 gigs of space. My first personal device, rather. And that was a beautiful upgrade, brother. That was a fucking beautiful upgrade. I enjoyed that phone so much, but there was one thing that I didn't like about it. They got rid of the fucking headphone jack, and I was not using wireless headphones at the time. You see, at the time, and I forgot to mention this, when I got my iPhone 7 for the first time, I opened up the case and there was this pair of earbuds inside of that case. So I yoinked them out and I popped them into my ears and I was like, hey, I mean, compared to most earbuds that come with phones, these actually sound kind of lit. And they did, especially for the time. And, I fucking enjoyed those headphones. But when I got the iPhone 7, sure, they still came with those earbuds. You know what was different about them? The fucking lightning connector. You know what the problem with that was? I couldn't charge my phone and listen to my music at the same time. The speakers were shit. I couldn't connect headphones. And then if I wanted to connect headphones, I couldn't charge my phone. Apple, you guys still need to fix that. USB C headphones do not work if I can't charge my phone through that USB C port. Getting a little bit worked up. Regardless, I think that was really the only thing that I didn't like about the iPhone 7. I mean, objectively, for the time, it was a good phone. My next cell phone upgrade, which was actually a downgrade, was my first Plus model phone. You see, around COVID, I want to say it was. So keep in mind, the iPhone 8 was out by now. The iPhone 8 Plus was out by now. The iPhone X, XS, and XR were out by now. And the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro and 11 Plus, I want to say, were about to come out. Like I think it was maybe a month or two away from those phones coming out. You want to know how much they offered me for my iPhone 7 on a trade in? Keep in mind, almost brand new iPhone 7. I had gotten it less than a year before, and I kept my phone in pristine condition. No scratches, no cracks, nothing like that. I took care of my phone. But they were only going to give me $100 for the upgrade. That was fucking crazy. I mean, I guess it was a few generations old, but nowadays, the only phone you can buy for $100 is one of the iPhone SEs. I shouldn't say the only phone, the only iPhone you can buy for $100 is one of the iPhone SEs. A close follow up to that is the iPhone 12. But if you want the iPhone 12 Pro, you're going to be looking more at like $250, which is the same price you could spend to get like an iPhone 13 or an iPhone 14. They generally hover around the same price point. It's all fucked, bro. It's all fucked. Regardless, I got $100 as a trade-in for my iPhone 7 and ended up having to downgrade to the iPhone 6S Plus, which, let me tell you something. That phone was just objectively fire. I didn't sacrifice anything that I had really on the iPhone 7. And in fact, I actually gained a headphone jack, which was fucking awesome. I had a bigger phone, which I mean didn't really matter to me all that much, but I had a headphone jack on the bottom, which was just awesome. And my iPhone 6S Plus, I mean, bulky, felt nice in the hand, you know? And I guess you could make the argument that I had my first and only ever Pro phone. But that argument's just kind of ridiculous because the idea of a Pro iPhone wasn't even there yet. Like it was still one camera across the board. I mean, sure, the 7 Plus and the 8 Plus both had bigger cameras, but I mean, aside from that, like there was nothing incredibly special about the 6S Plus besides the fact that it was bigger. I got earbuds with that. I fucked with those earbuds too. I could charge my phone and listen to music at the same time, which Apple fucking fixed the problem. Regardless, I still fuck with Apple products. And I used that iPhone 6S Plus all the way up to 2022. So I had that phone for, I mean, a grand total of 4 years. Somewhere in that time, I should also mention that I got my own personal iPad Air 2, which allowed me for the first time to explore features like AirDrop, which was just objectively amazing. I loved that feature. The fact that I could send a file from my phone to my iPad and then delete it on my phone and conserve the storage, that was fucking amazing. I loved that. And I was also able to do the feature for the setup of that iPad where I just held my phone nearby it and I was just able to transfer the data, which once again, objectively an amazing feature. Regardless, then in 2022, I got another new phone, which even for the time was not new. It was a generation old. I got the iPhone SE 2020 edition, so the iPhone SE 2, which was my first phone with 64 gigabytes of storage, which let me tell you something. From going from a phone that had 32 gigs of storage to going to a phone with 64 gigs of storage was an incredible jump. It took me so long to fill up the storage, and the only reason why the storage got full in the first place was for the simple fact that Apple kept releasing updates, and the updates just took up more and more of my space. So that kinda sucked. 4 years later, well, no, no, no. We have a couple more Apple products to talk about. In that time period, probably around 2024, I want to say. No, 2023. It was 2023 and I wanted to pick up the Apple Watch Series 6. I also wanted to pick up some AirPod Pro 2s. So, we meandered our way to Best Buy and I walked in and I said, "Hey, I want to pick up a pair of AirPod Pro 2s." And they had those in stock immediately. I think those might be the best selling product ever, basically. And they had those in stock immediately. So I copped those and then I said, "Hey, I also want the Apple Watch Series 6." And they said, "Okay." And they went to the back, and you know what they didn't have? The iPhone or the Apple Watch Series 6. I'm sorry. You know what they did have in stock though? The Apple Watch SE, which was pretty much the same. Stripped back, it didn't have the EKG feature, but it had pretty much everything else. So I copped that and I copped my AirPods Pro 2s and I went home. And they were all really nice products, but there was one thing about the Apple Watch in specific that I didn't really like. And it was the fact that with that default silicone wristband, my wrist would sweat and it would dig in and it wouldn't be uncomfortable per se, but at the end of the day I would pull it off my wrist and then feel that wrist and it was just like super sweaty and soft, and when I lifted it up to my face I could smell it and I was like, no, 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 this is not gonna do, this is not gonna do at all. So I ended up trading off the Apple Watch, but I kept my AirPods Pro 2s until that is one day when they broke. Yeah, I think it was the right earbud, just like the microphone got busted when I was sleeping. And I went to put it in my ear, and when I was in the car, there was this really annoying whistling noise, which those were my on the way to school earbuds. That just would not work. So instead of getting them replaced, I ended up trading them for like, I don't think they were OG AirPods, but now that I'm thinking about it, they actually might have been. Yeah, I think they actually were like OG Series 1 AirPods, which I mean weren't bad, but they didn't get loud. They didn't have ANC, and I ended up borrowing them to someone who wore them in the shower. And yeah, those AirPods got fucked. Despite the fact that they're vintage and in a couple of years, I mean, realistically, they'll probably be worth some money. especially in the pristine condition they were in. No, dude wore them in the shower and now they're just fucked, you know? And I forgot to mention, my AirPods Pro 2s ended up getting stolen. Yeah, I mean, fuck my cousin for that one, realistically. He stole my Bluetooth speaker too, which wasn't an Apple product. And that's not even the only thing they stole. They stole a Braille Mantis, which is like a big QWERTY keyboard with a bunch of Braille cells at the bottom. It's a Braille display that you can connect to your phone or a computer. And there was a couple of pieces that were broken on it, which was just a couple of keys. They broke in my backpack, you know. But that was a $6,000 piece of technology that they also stole from me, along with my Air Maxes, along with my steel toe boots, along with my ratchet set, basically most of my shit. Fuck you guys for that one. Regardless, I know you guys are watching this. I'm talking to you, bro. Fuck you. Regardless, um next I waited and I bought another pair of AirPod Pro 2s. Very recently, actually. This was at the beginning of this most recent January. I bought these AirPod Pro 2s, and dude shows up and he hands them to me, and I ask if I can test them, and my stupid fucking ass only put in the right AirPod. And I listened to some music quickly and I was like, okay, this sounds fine. Didn't bother cranking the volume, didn't bother putting in the left earbud, and I gave him the money. I went inside and I put in the left earbud and I realized immediately that these things had the same problem as my OG fucking AirPods, which was crazy. The fact that, I mean, they were used, yes, I got them off Marketplace, and I only paid 65 bucks, and the dude did come to me to drop them off. And they were still under warranty. So, and they are still under warranty. So I can take them to the Apple store and get them replaced, which is what I'm planning to do. I'm going to take them to the Apple store, get them replaced. Once they're replaced, I'm going to keep them sealed in the box and I'm going to sell them on Marketplace again for a pair of AirPod Pro 3s, which I will be getting when I sell the third pair of AirPods that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace most recently, but I paid $100 for these. And I'm not gonna lie, the only thing that pisses me off about these AirPods is the fact that for some fucking reason, this dude, keep in mind, picked them up in, I just looked at the limited warranty, it was June of 2025 when he picked these things up, because the limited warranty only lasts a year and it's still active on those AirPods. So he got them in June of 2025, and for some reason they still have the fucking lightning port, bro. Tell me why the fuck they still have the lightning port. Regardless, I got these Lightning AirPod Pro 2s and I opened the box and the lightning cord was broken. So, thankfully I had an extra lightning cable, and thankfully my mom actually gave me the idea of plugging it into a new cable to see, and they charged just fine. So, thank God for that one. I ended up just throwing away the other lightning cord because it was clearly broken and I had nothing else to test it on. Which brings me to the final Apple product of today's video, the iPhone 17. Now, yes, did I encounter other Apple products? Sure, in passing, but they were all, like I said, in passing. So I did encounter the iPhone XR, never used it, but I did encounter it. I did encounter the iPhone 8 Plus. I did use that one slightly. I also encountered the iPhone 8, but they were never my phones, you know. My friends had them, or in the case of the iPhone 8, my sister's boyfriend at the time had them. And, you know, cool phones all across the board. I also think I saw the iPhone 11 and maybe the iPhone 12. Definitely saw the 13 and the 13 Pro Max, which all cool phones, but like I didn't get to play around with them enough to where I really formed an opinion on them. So all these Apple products that I'm talking about in today's video, either like there's a cool story behind them, or a feature that got introduced that I just really liked, or, you know, I owned the device directly. And so we come to the iPhone 17. This February, I was in my kitchen at my house, my old place in specific, and I was charging my phone on the phone with my friend later on that day. Another piece is that while I was charging the phone, I had accidentally stepped on the cord because I was just charging it on the kitchen counter, and I was charging it with a 6 foot cord. So it drug on the ground just slightly. And when I stepped on it, my phone went flying and it hit the ground, and I unplugged it, and it was working just fine. It wasn't cracked or anything. And then I was talking to my friend later on that day, and I realized that my phone had critically low battery. So I went to plug it in, and I realized that the lightning port was fucking busted. So I called my mom and I was like, yo, this is the problem. And she said, does your phone have wireless charging? And I thought about it and I said, yeah, it has wireless charging. So I actually now have a wireless charger that is the only way I can charge my iPhone SE. And I do still have the phone. It's just inside my backpack right now, which brings me to my most recent phone. The fucking big boy, the iPhone 17, which is my first phone with USB-C charging, my first phone with big speakers, my first phone with with what the fuck was it? It was good speakers, USB-C. Oh, the action button, two cameras. That was the one I was going to say, was the two cameras, the camera button, which I mean is cool. From anywhere on my phone, I can press that and just open my camera and boom, I'm recording a YouTube video. You know, that's fucking dope. It also has a feature where when I'm editing the video, I can just click studio and my microphones just sound so much better. They sound so much more crispy and clean, bro. Like, so close to studio quality, actually. I'm not even joking or trying to hype this phone up, but bro, it's so clean, so clean. And then, and then, it also has the screen the size of the older Plus model iPhones, bro. Even like some of the more modern Plus model iPhones. Like, I think this is the biggest Jesus Christ, the biggest base model iPhone ever released by Apple. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. So, what did we all go through today? We went through the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5S, the iPad 2, the iPad Air 2, the iPad Mini 2, the iPhone 7, the iPhone SE, the Apple Watch SE, the AirPods Pro 2s, and the iPhone 17. And very, very soon, I'm going to get the AirPod Pro 3s. Yes, I am going to get those. And at some point in the near future, I'm also going to pick up that MacBook Neo. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there because that is going to conclude today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. It'll help out the channel a fuck ton. I could really use any extra penny, you know? So if I can get monetized, that'd be fucking lit. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.